So I've been sitting on this footage of the Hoback Kwaiback Midtech, which Austin at the Epic Snuggle Bunny channel was very graciously able to lend to me a few months ago, as I've been trying to put together my thoughts about this very interesting knife. And I'm trying to say something different. He did a very good standard issue review on this knife, kind of going through the technical aspects and modifications of this interesting Midtech. But I'm going to take it in a completely different direction here. And what I want to talk about is some of the economic realities that are kind of underlying this knife. It's going to be more of a philosophy video with this knife as an interesting reference. The Syndics of the Drapers Guild, a painting by Rembrandt made in 1662, depicts a topic that I want to get into in this video, and this is the idea of a commonwealth of ownership. Basically, a different economic model that was commonplace in certain levels of social class in the Middle Ages in Europe. Basically, what I'm interested in talking about is the Guild for Craftsmen, or Crafts Guilds. This is a self-employed group of workers, of tradesmen who control their means of production. Now, why am I interested in talking about this with regard to this knife? Because we're seeing a emergence of something like a crafts guild today in the gear industry. Maybe not a formal association of artisans, but basically tradesmen or craftsmen who are able to reappropriate the means of production to themselves and bring goods to the community through those means. Now, just to clarify, I'm perfectly aware that there's a knife makers guild in the knife industry, as well as other kinds of guilds in other areas of the gear industry. My point is not so much to highlight these crystallized guilds, but just discuss in general the interesting economic situation where the means of production are controlled by craftsmen. Now, Jake Hoback, of course, is a very interesting example of this, a custom knife maker since 1998, based out of Henderson, Texas, who in this Hoback Kwaiback Midtech, he's basically taken his custom knife and made a very nice, high-end, small production run, basically a small batch of knives. And we see this in other areas of the gear industry. In watches, for example, we have what are sometimes called micro brands, basically boutique brands, sometimes on the higher end, that are limited and controlled by an individual. Now, what's interesting about this knife, beyond the fact that it's just an example of a self-employed person making a production knife, is that it's actually modified by someone else, Fernando at Lionworks, a Lionheart86 on Instagram. This is a guy who exemplifies another aspect of craft guilds, not an association, but the idea that you can advance in a trade, that you can grow through sometimes apprenticeship, or just by growing in your own skills and move on to a deeper level of craft. And that's actually what's happened with Lionworks, is he started off pimping knives, as customizing is called in the knife community. What fascinates me about custom knife makers and mid-tech productions, as well as knife pimpers in the knife industry, or microbrew or small batch watches and watch modders in the watch industry, is that we're seeing a form of the restoration of economic control that is not as competitive in a hostile way that we sometimes see in the greater industry. Cold Steel's lawsuit against CRKT is an interesting example of ideological competition going sour and actually ending with the result of creating a hostile environment in the industry. Now, I'm not going to get into the lawsuit specifically, but I just want to contrast it to this idea of collaboration that I've been illustrating here with the Hoback Lionworks modded knife. Jake Hoback provides yet another interesting example of a craftsmanship spirit of collaboration with his OSF 3.5, which was an open source folder that he released with the goal of actually helping the knife community learn to make better knives. Well, amazingly and unfortunately, the design was stolen, and he had to basically take down the designs for the knife, and it hurt the rest of the community as a result of this. Now, please don't misinterpret my commentary in this video as some sort of anti-capitalist screed. So much of the work on this channel is only basically standing on the shoulders of successful capitalism, so I'm not going there. What I am pointing out is just the very interesting microeconomics that has emerged due to this self-sufficient craftsmanship that we're seeing in certain gear circles. I think that's a very good thing. I think it merits more conversation, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about it in the comments below. So let me know what you think about the emergence of these little guilds in custom knife makers or micro brands in any aspect of the gear industry. Thanks a lot for your time, and I hope you enjoyed this video.